Welcome to Stone Soup Poetry. Welcome one and everyone to National Poetry Month. Happy National Poetry Writing Month if you're undergoing that as well. 3 days in, how many people had broke the emergency haiku glass? All of you, don't blame you. It's an arduous process. It's a crazy one. I've been doing it for next year will be the 20th anniversary if I'm still around to do it. If I actually finish this year. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we do have a Stone Soup Facebook group that's private. So if you want to share your poems with the group, you are more than welcome to. Tonight's feature, we have some amazing features coming up for the rest of April, including Marianne Honecker, who is also another former New England poet living down, I believe, in Virginia. She'll be featuring, and I believe helping to debut another collection of hers that's coming out this year. We also have Sue Savoy, who is another Cambridge native. Yeah, Rich knows who I'm talking about. Hopefully I'll get her bio and photo tomorrow. She has tentatively agreed, and she is also hopefully going to read a selection from her book that's coming out through, I believe, Crooked Treehouse in the summer, during the summertime. So that's exciting as well, and hopefully more announcements will be made for the month of May, which is Stone Soup's, good God help me, 53rd anniversary. I wasn't around for all of them, but sometimes it feels like I was. Our feature tonight is Rich Boucher, who is one of the biggest workhorses I've seen on Facebook and the Facebook poetry scene. And God knows with the algorithm, that seems like the most pointless task any of us can do. But God bless those of us who are still doing it. Anyone here, God bless those of us who have said, this sucks. I'm going to go someplace where I really respect it. Instagram. I respect people doing the grind. I respect people doing the grind. I would do Instagram if I had an extra day of the week and $80,000 more a week for pay. But anyway, God bless the people who work. God bless Rich, who is seems to be getting published every week. His book, I believe. Oh God, I'm forgetting the name of your book. God, Rich, help me out here.
My book is called All of This Candy Belongs to Me.
How could I forget a name title like All of This Candy Belongs to Me? It's like all your basin candy belong to Rich, and all your poems belong to him tonight. He is so happy you're here, and so am I. We are going to get started very soon with the open mic. Rich is anxious to hear so many of you, and the Ramdonator 5000 has started to crew names from the chat from my regular crew, and we're going to get started. And we're going to get started with Mr. Mark States, who's one of the earliest people here. There's a number one, whether you like it or not, it's Stone Soup Online. When we're live, we start at number 8. Anyway, Mark, if you're up to read. Oh.
You can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Oh, why? Who's going to drive you home tonight? Scenery slowly streams by on the bus ride home, leafless limbs of trees stoic in their emptiness. A white and light green fire plug, and a few feet away, its neighbor, the overflowing public trash receptacle with fast food bags and napkins hanging out of its mouth, and a cherry soda on top. Sun-faded newspaper covers the windows of a shop long closed to business, while gossip about what happened continues. Scenery and bus amble through big city traffic, stopping and starting as people get on or get off. But I barely notice which. Eyes stay focused on the window, as this ride is not a pleasure. I didn't mean to turn you on, the title of a popular song that came out of her mouth entered my ears and plummeted to the bottom of my soul like Wile E. Coyote to the desert floor, complete with body-shaped crater and puff of dust. It was my fault, I suppose, for not knowing the difference between I'm flirting with you because I like you and I'm flirting with you because I'm new at this job and need you to like me so I can keep this job. Wisdom comes after the train wreck. I said something. She hit the pneumatic brakes, but it was too late. Scenery slowly streams by on the bus ride home, lifeless lumps of soul stoic in their coldness, a burning and rising bile ejecting like slow-moving lava from a throat that would rather cry out its regrets in a vain prayer for some sort of vindication, while certainly gossip about what really happened will continue tomorrow. It was the same way I felt, tray in hand, asking the cool kids, "Can I sit with you?" But end up sitting in the bottom of a trash can, overflowing with cafeteria wrappers and napkins, an expired milk carton poured on for good measure, the title of a popular song I came to hate in the 1980s, "I Didn't Mean to Turn You On." But since then, upon occasion, I too have needed to speak those same words, remembering how much they hurt, how long they dwell in shadows that turns of the head looking back cannot shake.
Thank you so much, Mark. Good to have you back.
Thank you too.
We're
Appreciate it.
admitting a couple more people, one or two more people, and hope maybe they'll join the open mic as well. But for now, we're gonna go to one of my crew, one of the regulars from the last few months. Let's welcome up Mr. Ken Johnson.
Ah, crap. Oh, I'm not muted anymore. Good. So, yeah, we're rocking. Let me just preface this by saying, when I don't have something better to read, I go out and look for pictures. And it's probably, we got too many people to try to post it up, so we're going to skip that shit. But what I want you to do is imagine a picture of a kid being tossed over the Rio Grande. And I call this then that kid being tossed over the Rio Grande. When I was a kid, I had this Superman costume, blue pants, red cape, big ass S diamond on my chest, 3-year-old kid size. On the hem of the shirt, in little yellow letters, it read, "This costume will not make you fly." And these were the 1960s, before there was Superfly. I imagined climbing out the dormer window, jumping to the ground. But half an hour later, I was flying door to door in the neighborhood. Halloween! Faster than a tall building, able to leap locomotives in a single bound. Car door, car to door, door to car, again. And I had an orange UNICEF box. Pardon me while I scroll. Box rattle, chink, chink, chink when I run. Some moms just threw pennies in my candy bag. But this kid don't have no Superman suit. He's in a orange shirt, blue pants, in the air. Still just there, in the air. A man on this side stands with his arms out. Look like about to catch him. While mom stands on the other side with her arms out. Look like she tossed them over what looks like a 1.5 yard wide channel to a sluice gate. And a picture that says it's a tribute to the Rio Grande. Damn, that's the Rio Grande? Shit. You see, Maduro, he drives them out of Venezuela. They had to eat boiled plantain peels. only room for Maduro and his friends in Venezuela, and he don't eat no boiled plantain peels. Maybe on the way out, they got their own Harriet Tubman. Follow the North Star, but you can't see no North Star in the Colombian border jungle. Here, some die in the desert, others elbow to elbow in the ice stations. Some were flown up to Martha's Vineyard, whom they didn't send back, but they don't want no more. And New York is all booked. Hamilton's SRO. So he's still there. And this next lawsuit will not let him fly away or cut him down. He's still there in the air. In the air. He's still there.
Ken, I don't know if that line "faster than a tall building" was intentional. If it is, bravo. And if it was slip up, bravo all the same. That was a great, happy accident.
The answer is you'll never know.
Thank you, Ken. And we're going to move on. One more crew member before we mix it up a little bit with some of our new friends. Let's go to Miss Jan Rowe of Stone Soup, the Black Seed Writers Group, and so much more.
I'm going to read something from this. It's in the weekly every Tuesday morning, St. Paul's, Sprode Hall, James Parker from the Atlantic. Okay, it's called Dare I Write and Read This? Boeing whistleblower, longtime employee in the Carolinas, recently found dead, shot in the head. He prophesied his death, asked that it not be called suicide, as it was murder. His death came amid days of testimony against Boeing, blowing the whistle on shoddy works, dangerous work, exemptions about flaps, exemptions about de-icing. Reminds of Karen Silkwood, 1946 to 74. Employee and whistleblower at Care McGee nuclear plant in Oklahoma, killed, murdered, age 28 via car wreck as she was en route with the file for investigative reporters. File missing. Los Alamos top scientist Dr. George Voez declared she had a legitimate amount of plutonium in her body. Karen Silkwood. Great movie with Meryl Streep as Karen Silkwood and Cher co-stars. Also, University of Massachusetts at Park Square in Boston produced a play in '81. So the National Security Council found 40 pounds of plutonium on an oil tanker headed for Israel. Something about a smuggling ring involving the CIA, M15, and Mossad. You see why do I dare write and read this? Thank you.
Thank you for daring both, Jan. And now I'm going to ask Bill Nevins if you'd like to come up and if you'd like to come up to the virtual podium. And also unmute. Oh, there you go.
Unmute, yeah. Okay. Thanks so much. And hey, come on out here to New Mexico. We got so many places. You're gonna love it. Here's a poem. The poem is titled "Within the Silence of the Messengers." It has two epigraphs, short ones. The first one is, "At the birth of each new era, with a recognizing start, glad truth yet leaps beneath the future's heart." That's from The Present Crisis by J.R. Lowell, 1844. And the other epigraph is, in Gaza, some of us cannot completely die. That's from My City After What Happened by Mossab Abu Toha this year. Within the silence of the messengers for the dying angels in Gaza, beyond the roar or quiet, behind the dim unknown, on the scaffold, in the battle, in the tomb or birthing room, we hear only this hush of wings barely stirring the wind. These angels who sweep around us, never a word spoken, never a sword drawn. For though their voices be strong, though their hearts be brave, they know that we would not remember if they spoke, could not remember one soft word, nor recall one fiery blow. And so they greet us in chaste silence as we greet them only with ephemeral heartbeats, as is the way of our kind, as is the way of this, our unknowing mind. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Wonderful poem. I'm loving the mix here. I'm really loving the mix. Let's keep it going. Oh yes, Erica DeWeese. I believe you pressed 1 in the chat. So you're up. I know everyone's just like, oh, hey, God.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry. All right. It's been a while since I've read, and so bear with me here if you would, please. This is called Catch But Release. The morning after we've caught one another, released one another. My drive home is a monochrome. The dawn gray with November's frost, the sky subdued, robbed of its vivid hues. My memory robbed of your striking fingers, mile by mile, my wheel's rotation, spinning your hands into shadows, captured in my peripheral vision, a swell of blackbirds pulses around a nude white oak tree, landing on winter spindly branches, dead leaves resurrected as wings, and fluttering unhindered by cage, bars, or tethers. My eyes relinquish the vision, returning to the charcoal highway heading home. Its length before me diminishing, pulling me forward as I leave you, as I'll always leave you. We leave to return again, to catch and be caught again, to release and be released again. Free to land and grasp what trees we find homes in. Ohio buckeyes, sugar maples, red oak, while our wings flutter, unhindered by cage, bars, or tethers.
And cut and scene and clap. Thank you, Erica. Have you? I get the impression I've seen you before, and I'm not sure where. Have you been at Stone Soup before? Oh, I'm gonna have to figure out where that was. Maybe at one of Jeff Taylor's controverse, or not controverse, but the Garage Poets reading. But I'm not sure. But great to hear your work, and hope you come back at some point.
Thank you.
Up next, time to bring out some of our more shy members. Some of you don't get how funny this is. Let's welcome up the man who literally needs no introduction, as he knew I was talking about him the second I said anything. Okay, Bill. Bill
Oh,
Lewis, everyone.
Chadford. The things that I put up with. Why do I do this? You would think I would just retire and have a good life, but no, I'm here and you plague me. Ah, I was 19 years old, walking across campus before the beginning of my second year in college, and Colonel Vansel saw me. He came up to me and said, "You look like a man with a draft number of 357. I was astounded. How the hell did he know that? And then he said, "I suppose we won't be seeing you in ROTC this year." And I said, "Guess not." I hadn't thought about it. And to this day, I wonder if he had done the opposite. He had said, "You know, Bill, I know that you don't have to worry about being drafted, but the Army needs men like you to build this country to be a stronger and better place." Where would my life have gone? I like thinking about that. Instead, of course, I joined the Peace Corps and ran off and became a crazy radical and did all sorts of things. And Occupy Wall Street was a big deal in my life. And I was so involved in that. And then as the people that I worked with started getting into politics, I started protesting them. We're not doing our part. And the more that I pointed out that we weren't doing the stuff that we said we were going to do, the more pissed off they got at me. And well, anyway, I'm going around in circles, but there it is. So I get frustrated and I yell at people. But instead of yelling at people, I come to Stone Soup and write unhappy poetry. So you're stuck with me. Everything's fine, at least if you're woke. With free government money, you'll never be broke. With inflation down and the stock market up, Bidenomics is working. It can't just be luck. Unemployment's near zero and wages are high. Obamacare is wonderful. No one need die. We've raised all the taxes on the rich and the corporations, except for the ones who give large donations. The unions all tell us our schools are the best. Our homeless quote Shakespeare with fervor and zest. Is your life way better than your mom and dad? What? But they promised us. Oh dear, we've been had.
Sorry. Welcome up. Welcome up next. Oh, first, thank you to Bill. And who are we going to bring up next? Sorry, we're dealing with even more people coming on, and it's very exciting. Thanks to everyone who's come on, whether it's to participate in the open mic or just listen. Let's bring up Bob next. I believe you said his last name Reeves, Bob Reeves. Oops.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, okay, thank you. Trying to do it myself. When I write things like this, they're not typical of me. And I just figured out that when I write them, I must be wearing my Rich Boucher hat. I didn't know I had a Rich Boucher hat, but this is something I wrote when wearing my Rich Boucher hat. It's called More Karma. So I stopped counting up the times in my life when karma had proved its own existence and went back to punching myself in the eye. My phone was demanding attention by not ringing. "Who isn't calling me?" I shouted. But then the door opened and my second grade school teacher walked in. "I told you already," I muttered. "I'm not apologizing for what happened at recess that time." "Well, we can talk about that," she said, which was what she always said. "Meanwhile, I want you to read this." On her way back out the door, she handed me an empty box of cotton swabs. On the back, it said, "Variety of uses. 1, to clean wax out of your ears. 2, to clean wax out of your ears. 3, to clean," I skimmed the rest. It was along the same lines. Before I knew it, the wind was rushing through my hair and I could hardly breathe as I tore around curve after curve. Then it was after I knew it. That's enough of that, I said with stoic finality. The door opened and my second grade school teacher walked in. Don't you knock? I asked, spitting out the remains of my bedroom. Well, we can talk about that, she said.
I love your hat, Bob.
Thanks, Bob, and welcome to Stone Soup. Let's see, as I'm figuring out, there's a couple of people in our group who we put towards the end normally, so I'm just seeing who hasn't gone yet. I see a Trey who put his one through his one in the ring of the chat. Trey Gring, if you're interested in reading now, you're more than welcome to.
Sure. Hello. Sorry, I was a little nervous at first because I've never been to any sort of poetry reading before. So actually, my professor kind of gave us a recommendation to come join this and kind of check everything out. And you guys, everything's been so awesome so far. So I'd love to just read a piece I wrote actually for in my poetry class for in my professor.
Who's your professor?
Actually, yeah, I don't know if you guys would know her. Her name's Gloria Monahan.
Oh
She teaches
yeah,
at
she's been a
Wentworth.
multiple-time feature here. So yeah, definitely
Yes,
welcome.
she encouraged me to get out and attend a reading, and I've been enjoying this. You guys have all been so awesome so far.
Well, by all means, let's not interrupt you.
Thank you.
Keep on going.
Okay. A place unfamiliar can seem quite frightening. You arrive with expectations, and one revelation can all be ruined by one dude. This raunchy rodent, I hate this guy. The words he speaks, his breath, it reeks of the garlic buttery, lethargic utterly, breathing, dousing me in my eyes. He was not one of the people, for he spread rumors I thought belies. You cannot bribe a whole population, I say, this wrestled his puny mind. With one last go, his words let me know we're out of garlic bread this time. Thank you.
That raunchy rodent. Yeah, Steamboat Willie hasn't been the same since he went public domain. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Please, I was a kid before I could be allowed to be a kid. But nice work. And welcome to the reading. We do this every Wednesday online, so you're welcome to our virtual podium always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And let's see who we have next. Before I go to Bram, I wanted to ask if, just on the strength of his graphic alone, I wanted to ask if Jonathan Baker was interested in reading.
Yes.
All right, well, welcome, and let's hear you.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Baker. This poem is called Exchange. I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will die, I will die, I will die, I will die, and eventually so will you. And then the whole of existence will cool, and silence will spread like shadows at dusk. All of that kinetic energy from both your words and mine, movement, heat, and light, will hop from particle to particle, becoming bombs and baby's breath, and beating butterfly wings, felt like Krakatoa oceans away. Before our bodies expelled the words, before our minds composed the lines, they existed as flesh and grass and the brilliance of a star burning since long before Sumerians carved language into clay, burning before primate mouth.
Something happened there. I don't know. Let me see.
Oh.
Oh, don't know what happened there. I don't know if I was the only one, but I thought the sound sounded like the sound went out. Did anyone else have that issue?
Yes, he cut out
Yes.
about half a minute ago.
That was weird.
Oh.
Okay, well, take it from the top, sir.
All right.
I
Well,
don't know what
let's see
happened,
here.
but we're good now.
Okay. All right, maybe this will work better. Exchange. I may not agree with you, but I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will die, I will die, I will die, I will die, and eventually so will you. And then the whole of existence will cool and silence will spread like shadows at dusk. All of that kinetic energy from both your words and mine, movement, heat, and light will hop from particle to particle, becoming bombs and baby's breath and beating butterfly wings felt like Krakatoa oceans away. Before our bodies expelled the words, before our minds composed the lines, they existed as flesh and grass and the brilliance of a star, burning since before Sumerians carved language into clay, burning before primate mouths could shape intelligible sounds. And now, here and today, solar radiance is dulled down to epithets at red lights, traded between frustrated strangers just trying to make it home before the heat death of the universe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And welcome to you as well. Gonna bring back one of the regular Stone Soup crew. It's a musical interlude now. We're gonna bring up Mr. Ethan Mackler, the man who I call the pulse of Stone Soup and the pulse of the poetry scene in general. So, Ethan, if you're ready. There you go.
Thank you. And I would like to make a plug this Monday for all you people in Malden or near Malden or who would like to go to Malden. The Controverse open mic in person at the Urban Media Arts Center. That is local access station. We have an open mic this Monday. Come, please be a part of the studio audience and get up and read if you dare. Yeah, hope to see you there. And yes, this Monday, Malden Urban Media Arts Controverse open mic. You can check the Garage Poets open mic page for details. Thank you.
I'll be posting links to it later on before the week ends. Yes, one of the co-brainchilds of Jeff Taylor, who's listening with us today. So if you like to go to Malden, if you live in Malden, if you can spell Malden, they want you. So make your way down there. Poets need audiences, or at the very least entourages that can double as audience. And now, getting closer to the end of the open mic. Now every day I get a name, I get to say like it's a Game of Thrones character, but Bram MacLear. Let's have you come up at the last.
I like that take on it. Hello, everybody. I'm Bram MacLear. I'm here to support Rich in his feature time here. Thank you, Rich. And thank you all for welcoming me. This is my first visit here, and I appreciate it. This poem is an ekphrastic poem. I wrote it in response to a piece of visual art. And if you will, picture in your mind's eye a sort of large 16 by 20 visual with planetscapes and dark skies that picture the vastness of the universe, but also picture human forms standing on the surface of the planet. This is called A Matter of Light and Time. To Visions of the Future, Visions of Future Past by Jan Beck. All eyes on us, the wolf, the bear, the eyes of the planets, the eyes of the moons. The flow of time passes like light bent through a prism, like light bent through a cornea, passing through a contracted iris. The very nature of the universe rests in an equation balancing out matter and light and energy. Even in the vacuum of space, time is not a constant like light. Time is inconstant. Time is fickle. It congeals and grasps at you like quicksand does, or the deep mud of the marshland, or it covers you like a snowfield thrown down by an avalanche from a mountain summit. But time expands, and time heats up and flows like hot tea poured from the spout of a white ceramic pot. Drops of time, frozen in circles of brilliant light. Drops of time, blueprints for the unique design of snowflakes. Drops of time, bitter and stinging like pellets of freezing rain. Drops of time, heated to the boiling point. Drops of time, steeping the human condition. Drops of time, splashing out and burning a memory to the palm of my hand, searing a temporal scar across flesh and spirit. Thank you.
Thank you, Bram, very much. Going down the list, trying to make sure I haven't missed anybody. If there's anyone who wants to, oh, it looks like Marissa had a computer crash, but she's back in the waiting room. Holy shit. I haven't looked in the waiting room for a while. I'm trying to get everyone in here. God damn it. Okay, great. We are, and what I want to do is ask if Richard Vargas was interested in reading for tonight.
Thanks for the invite, but I'll pass. I'm just observing and listening, and all you guys sound great.
Okay, no problem. Just offering. I know Jeffrey doesn't want to read. Kooky, lend me your poem. No? Okay, he's good. That might be a 2 or 3 person joke, but okay. We'll let us welcome up Marissa Prada if she wants to read.
Okay, yes, I do. I would love to read. Yay, Rich Boucher is here. I'm so excited, but my computer it decided to take a nosedive into La La Land. So in order for me to pull up the poem that I was going to read, I just need a few more minutes if someone wants to go in front of me.
No problem. We usually have someone who closes, but he's also good at interjections like this to fill in the blank while someone's scrambling. And he's our normal closer at Stone Soup. He's also a columnist at Oddball Magazine. You can check out oddballmagazine.com. We are always looking for work, whether it be poetry, prose, artwork, photography, or even pieces on timely subjects. Like what's going on in Palestine, which we haven't gotten as many pieces as I would like, and that might be changing as the month comes to a close. But all of which to say your words are very welcome. And you can check out his words every Thursday morning. He is what an experiment that's been ongoing at Oddball for like the last 10 years. It's called Poet Columnist, and James Van Looy's poem column, It's All One Thing, which is a comprehensive history of not just the world, but Boston, his own life, and even his Dutch heritage. He throws a smorgasbord in there. It's every Thursday morning at 11 o'clock in the morning without fail. So without further ado, let's welcome up Mr. James Van Looy.
Thanks, Chad. I have a pretty short poem here tonight and a song. This is called Totems. When your own totems appear dark across the waving hands of tips of trees, and under shadow bushes emergent sudden in the park, or on the completely empty street of all the thoughts of revelation, of partisan decades-long indoctrination, where fossil fuelish wish and empire meet, the end of history still sits in wait, an illusion wanting to become prophecy, a sphere to pierce all this sophistry. Its technology assumes the role of fate. And here's the song. Daylight again, following me to bed. I think about 100 years ago, how my fathers bled. I think I see a valley covered with bones of blue. All brave soldiers that cannot get older, been asking after you. Hear the pastor calling from Armageddon's side, when everyone's talking and no one is listening. How can we decide? Do we find the cost of freedom buried in the ground? Mother Earth will swallow you, lay your body down. Find the cost of freedom buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you, lay your body down.
And that was James Van Looy, a regular at Oddball Magazine, a regular at Stone Soup, and a regular in downtown Boston. Check him out when he's doing his labyrinths on the weekends, though maybe not this weekend. The weather kind of sucks, but I won't blame you if you're not there, James. But we're glad that you're there most days, and at Oddball and at Stone Soup. And with that, I'm seeing that Marissa might be ready.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Take us home.
I'm so excited. Many of my New Mexicans showed up for Rich Boucher, who I deeply love. It's so good to still see Bill here and Mark States and all my other East Coasters who know that New Mexico is part of the U.S. and you don't need a passport to be here. All right, so let's go. This is a poem I recently resurrected. I featured at Brownstone Poets this past weekend. They're a poetry group out of New York City, and I'm honored to have published some of the women who are leading that organization. And so I pulled this poem out of my archives. It's a deeply personal piece for me, so I hope you all enjoy it. It is titled "The Day My World Died." The operating room is so lonely when you realize your life exists now without a dream for survival. I sat there in scrubs, paper mask in my hands, beeping sound of the OR in the next room, shuffling of equipment and feet, voices calling out numbers and steady beeping in place of heartbeats. Reality is a brutal baptism. It was like I was experiencing a momentary lucid lapse. Time had stopped and I could even twist back the clock, rewind my VHS mindset and be back to where my journey was headed, not where it ended. Like threading a needle with dissolvable sutures, my vision was just that good back then. I never saw it ending. I never saw it ending like that. I never saw the end until my body began to quit too. Broken heart palpitations postured between rhythm of anxiety and fear. The smell swept off my skin like moldy, bitter blood orange rinds. I hated the smell of my own inability, my own failure, my own inadequacy to fake being okay or pretend to be better at least. So I became a clown. I learned to juggle, learned to paint on a happy face, learned to dress the part and decompose in the irony. Each day I woke up, Folgers in my cup, companion to night terrors I never talked about. Thinking today would be different. No one will ridicule me today. No one will see my scarred body today. I won't panic. I won't be scared. I can do my job today. And like a good soldier, I followed my commanding cortex into battle, into a war I waged in an effort to forget, in an effort to beat it so that my dreams would come back. Because my life could not be like this. Not really. Denial is decadently demure. It holds healing hostage until the great separation of body and spirit rips apart your insides. And you find yourself sobbing on an OR floor, alone. At least now you have permission to leave. You have permission to forgive yourself. Because it's not your fault. Life, it just happened. Get up. Get up and walk on, woman. There are poets waiting for you. and their dreams will become your dreams. And oh, yes, you will see those come true. Thank you so much, Chad. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marissa. I hope next week or even next month I get to go, hey, where are all my new Mexicans in the house? And I'll be able to get everyone to press one in the chat again. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. I think we have one more person, well, not a New Mexican, is someone who is a Stone Soup regular here, quote after my own heart, and we've been in a lot of projects together, especially through Vagabond Books. Let's welcome up Brian Franco if he wants to say the last words. I don't think anyone else has pressed one. If anyone wants to read, let me know, but otherwise, I think Brian...
Hi.
There's my twin. My twin is here. Yes.
Yes. But I shan't tell them the truth about what happened in the womb because I don't want to be smart your name. Okay. I'll do two pieces from prompts for National Poetry Month. The first was the prompt was bird in hand. I was sitting on the porch swing on a breezy early spring day. A chickadee emerged from a shrub onto the rail, hopping on its feet the way chickadees do. It turned toward me and sang a tiny song. I opened my hand wide. It fell on board and proceeded to bite my thumb. Then it flew upward and bit my nose. Then it landed on the porch rail and proclaimed, "How dare you build your house where my family has lived for generations?" Of course, I did not build the house. I bought it used, but he flew off before I could defend myself. And this next one was from Singpo Rima, which is in Singapore, and the prompt was hometown. My hometown is not a city or town. Home connotates a place of safety. I think the only hometown I've ever really known is my mother's womb. Of course, I have no memories of the womb. Then there are the places my family lived. The cities are different from the houses. The houses are more like wombs I entered and exited while living in the cities we lived in. As I have aged, home was also the people who were my friends and chosen family. Home structures I no longer reside in remain my home as memories of life events, love, triumphs, turmoil, trauma, and traumas that shape my future decisions. The relationships I've experienced throughout the years have become residences that I've moved away from, sometimes returned to and even burnt to ashes, destroying any potential resurrection. Atlanta, where I was born and lived just over 1 year, is not my hometown. Mobile, Alabama, where I lived for decades from the second grade on, never allowed me to call it home. When I lived in New York City in my mid to late 20s, I felt a place to call home because I never had to hide my true self, but financial instability forced me back to Alabama. Now I've lived in Maine for 23 years. At age 53, I moved into a house that has my name on the deed. I'll soon have lived in my house for 5 years. I have hung art on the walls, chosen furniture and decor, and planted perennials in the yard. The more time I spend in this home that belonged to 3 families before me, the more they are erased from it. But I wonder if when I get too old to take care of it, and whoever moves in and decides to invite me for dinner, when they give me and invites me for and whoever moves in invites me for dinner, when they give me a tour of how they erased me from it, will my memories be suffice enough for me to call it home? There is a reason we are forbidden to remember our mother's wombs, lest we never find another hometown or home. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Generalissimo. And thanks to everyone who participated and or listened to the open mic. I know Rich enjoyed it as much as you guys did, if not more so. And the time has come for our feature to take center stage. Again, for everyone who has never been here before, I do this every week, God help me. Currently online only. hopefully transitioning to something in the near future as far as a live audience goes. But for now, we're every Wednesday from 7 to 9 Eastern time, with additional shows possibly coming up for the 53rd anniversary. We started this whole shindig, and by we I mean not me. It was started by Jack Powers in 1971 on May 1st, May Day, very important holiday. So the 53rd anniversary is almost upon us, and the features who will be asked to represent Stone Soup, people who have history with the venue and with the Boston poetry scene in general, will be announced as soon as possible. Appreciate your patience, and hopefully tomorrow, next week's feature, Marianne Honecker, who I highly recommend you come back for. I'll have her information, her flyer out tomorrow. And now, this is the part where I get to read the boilerplate for Rich Boucher, tonight's feature. And also include the link, which I'm going to do now, for All This Candy Belongs to Me, which is his poetry collection available for sale now. And the boilerplate reads as such. Rich Boucher resides in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He has been a member of 5 Poetry Slam teams representing cities all across the U.S., including Worcester, Mass. for 1995 and 96, Washington, D.C. for 2001, Wilmington, Delaware for 2007, and twice representing Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2008 and 2014. In 2012, Rich was named to the first inaugural. He was named to the first inaugural Albuquerque Poet Laureate Selection Committee for a 2-year term, and his participation helped to select Hakim Bellamy, the city of Albuquerque's first official poet laureate. In the same year, partially owning to his connections with the Delaware and Philadelphia art, music, and poetry scenes, Rich appeared on the album Dylan, Philadelphia Pays a Tribute to a Legend. That's an album featuring various Philadelphia artists performing covers of Dylan songs to benefit Amnesty International and the End Hunger Network. Rich's contribution to the album was a spoken word rendition of Bob Dylan's My Back Pages. Nice choice. Rich's poems have appeared in The Nervous Breakdown, Neon Malpace Review, Gargoyle, Menacing Hedge, Neon, Shot Glass Review, Bending Genres, and Stink Eye, among others. And most recently, he's had work published in Unknotting the Line, the poetry and prose from Dos Gatos Press. He has erotic work forthcoming in issue 3 of Pink Disco magazine. His CV is almost a poem in and of itself here. I just got to tell you. Rich has served for a year as associate editor of the Albuquerque-based Elbow Room magazine and is currently, since August of 2020, the associate editor of the online literary magazine Bonfire. And he is the author of All This Candy Belongs to Me, published by Jules Poetry Playhouse Publications. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to take an inhaler from all that, but it's accolades like this are why I chose him. And of course, having heard him repeatedly, not just being gracious enough to be on Stone Soup's open mic, but on the Garage Poets and several other venues, I've been excited to get a full set from him, and now we're going to have that. So ladies and gentlemen, human beings of all shapes and sizes, put your hands together 30, 40 times for Rich.
Thank you.
Let's go, Rich! Woo!
Thank you so much. Great to hear you, Marissa. Great to hear you all, and great to see you all here. Thank you so much for being here. Chad, thank you for inviting me to this. I'm super thrilled to be doing this. What an honor to kick off National Poetry Month and be the poet to be doing this. I just noticed Mary, who I have not seen in decades. Hi, Mary. I love you and miss you. My God, it's good to see your face. Oh, man. Okay, so I'm going to do this kind of straightforward. This way the set's going to go. I've got 9 poems prepared, and most of them, they're all going to be published works. Some of it's from my first book, and some of the poems will appear in my second book. And I'll be letting you know where each poem appears. And in that, I'm also going to let you know, just kind of give you a sense of, I'm going to be going through these one by one, not a whole lot of chatter between them unless it's necessary. So let's do it. Let's dive in. You've all been super patient and super lively, and I love the energy tonight. So we're going to start with a poem from my first book, All of this candy belongs to me. And this poem is called Live Nude Mercy. Okay? Live Nude Mercy. Maxine glistens in the silver light and slinks on ice, glides down the stairs in her white lingerie, and shivers her way to the center of the stage. The air around her hisses like angered air. I sit with my beer, and my eyes turn into telescopes, erect and polished and focused so very tightly. About 20 to 30 other guys watch too, and they are a colony of leaping apes braying with bottles of Budweiser in front of them. Maxine's hips metronome to the rock on the PA, and her white garters glow like bands of sunlight striping her fit, sinewy thighs in the silly day-glow gloom of this here titty bar on the outskirts of East Bitch, Pennsylvania. Outside, if we listen closely, we can all hear thunder making its presence known above our parked cars. We're locked onto Maxine's glittery cleavage, though, and then that bra comes off, and all of our skull caps loosen. The rumbling storm outside the car and the bar listens to our cries but doesn't change its mind, and rain comes down as we rain cash onto the floor before Maxine's endless legs. Our mouths are trying to fly to where she's grinding when she reaches for her left nipple and tugs at it roughly, tearing the flesh off her breasts to show us what's underneath. Now that she's bare, naked, except for those acrylic heels, she's showing us the rest of her, her heart, her lungs, the trickling rivers of blood beneath her everything else, the logical red extension of what we came to see. And I'm wondering if I'm the only one who's noticed what has ungodly begun to happen to us in here, to her up there. And where is this new music coming from? Where on earth is this new music coming from? All right, now this poem, thank you. This next poem is called Something's Got to Give, recently published online at the Eunoia Review. I woke up not being able to remember who Marilyn Monroe was. I didn't realize what happened until late in the morning, when a friend from work randomly mentioned her to me, and he was stunned at my look of puzzlement. Bewildered, he shot me a quizzical look. What do you mean, who's Marilyn Monroe? You know who that is. Flustered, I shot him a bemused look. I have no idea who you're talking about. He just looked at me irritatedly and told me we could no longer be friends. After I lost my friend, I drove home racking my brain trying to know about Marilyn Monroe, but all to no avail. I asked a lot of my family, later at dinner, if they knew who Marilyn Monroe was. Stricken, they all got up from their seats, away from their plates full of aromatic and flavorful dinner, and they then wept and embraced me grouply, surrounding me in a love circle as though we were all one deeply upset organism. Our soft moans, whimpering and wriggling lasted for about 5 minutes. Then, one of them showed me their phone's Google images of her. Ring a bell? My bell wasn't rung. I was having a very hard time knowing who this woman was, that they all seemed to know so intimately. Another family member, presumably my father, told me she was famous for once upon a time being an icon, a megastar actress and singer, and the first Playboy playmate. He showed me her body, which, while enjoyable, didn't jog my memory. Still another family member, perhaps an aunt of some kind, asked me if I knew who John F. Kennedy was. I told her that the name sounded familiar. You bet it does, challenged the aunt at me. He was the greatest president America ever had, and Marilyn was the one who took his virginity. Are you telling me you've never heard anything about that? My eyes grew wide with fear, and I found myself with my back against a wall. My head was shaking side to side the way a little boy's does when he sees a ghost. I was telling her I'd never heard anything about that. Okay. Third poem was published in the December 2023 issue of the Fixed and Free Quarterly. This is called Stay Alert, Watch What You Are Doing, and Use Common Sense When Operating a Power Tool. And if anyone asks, yes, I really mean this poem. One of my favorite tools to use is my Makita cordless power drill. It's got a lithium-ion battery, and it can deliver close to 500 inch-pounds of torque. And this little baby can go through anything: sheetrock, mahogany wood, 1-inch concrete, and plate steel. It practically does all your work for you. This thing weighs less than 4 pounds, even with the battery attached. And it's got a top drill bit turn speed of 1,600 RPM. And I got it for under $100. Can you believe that? Theodore Willigan, age 64. The customer who had mocked me for my job. The customer who whistled for me as if I were a dog or a small child. The customer who put his hand in front of my face as though to dismiss me and my worth now stared at me from the table I'd strapped him to in my basement. The smell of his old American pheromones and his old spice and his perspiration and the paints I kept around blended into a heady perfume that a smart marketing exec would have called no romance. Willigan's stupid Vietnam veteran cap shook as he roared at me in a tone of equal parts fear and defiance. You really think you'll get away with this? They'll give you the goddamn death penalty if you kill me. And why? You're doing all this because you're mad about how I talk to you? You need to get the hell over it. It's part of your job. If you don't like it, get another job. It was almost like he didn't even care about how cool my new drill was. My back was to him just then. I was lost in the beauty of that little green LED light on the handle of the drill that tells you when it's got a full charge. Seeing that full charge light gave me a full charge. Have you ever felt that steamy flush in the skin when you defend yourself and you know you're right? It's like that itch in your back where your angel wings are starting to grow. It's like a night meadow full of those little green LED lights sprouting from the ground and lighting up the world. The little green LED lights telling you that you now have full power. A sparrow flew over the house just then also and sang us both a song about a glorious dame in a film noir movie. And I made a note to Netflix that epiphany later, to Netflix that hotness, to Netflix my last will and testament. As all of this pretty sanity continued on, the loose light bulb over the table I had him on swung to and fro in a silly little curve over his worthless face. It occurred to me that he looked a bit like the actor who played Baron Harkonnen in the 1984 film Dune. His resemblance to that actor made me hate him even more powerfuler. And his resemblance to that actor also made me God for a little while, which, honestly, I did not mind. I turned to face him. We locked eyes then. We locked hearts, too. We almost locked cocks as well, except that he would never have been able to deserve my sex. The next thing I said to him came out so calmly, so suavely measured, that you would have sworn I was an unbelievably handsome actor like John Hamm or something. This isn't just about how you talk to me, although believe me when I tell you that in the next several minutes, you're going to learn all about what the word sorry really means. It's also about how you talk to everyone who wears a name tag, everyone who works in retail, every wait person, everyone who works in customer service. What I am about to do to you is not just for me, but for all of them. We're not laying down anymore for the way you customers treat us. Still want to mock how much I make an hour? Oh, and is there anything you would like your family to know before we begin? He sputtered out a mouthful of inadequate apology words, fast and frantic, with his gross spit flecking down on his chin like I'd just given him a facial or something the moment he saw me pull the trigger on the drill, the second he heard its perfect, beautiful, rotational, industrial whine. You know what's odd? Blood looks different when it splashes on your shirt or your hand than when it spatters on a wall. That was kind of a surprise to me. Okay. So now, this poem, published in the March 2024 edition of the Fixed and Free Quarterly. This is called Without Our Customers, We Are Nothing. The little toddler baby was having a horrible, brutal first day of work as a cashier at the supermarket. At only a year and a half old, she was having a tough time making her little fingers work on the buttons and screen. And she really didn't know how to read or count yet, but she needed the job. She needed the job because in this economy, her parents were barely making ends meet, and so she needed this job. She needed it. The customer in front of her was practically screaming himself hoarse at her because figuring out which of the pictures on the screen meant a pack of Marlboros was too much for her little brain to handle. And it took her forever to get this guy his cigarettes from the cabinet at customer service and then toddle back over to the high chair behind her register. "You got the wrong ones, you idiot," screamed the customer, his rubbery, dark arson fire of a face, ominous, imaginary black smoke billowed in a tower above his head like a burnt-out thought cloud. "Don't you know how to goddamn read?" The baby, whose name was Sarah, started to blubber and cry softly and piteously because she really needed this job, and she was frightened of this hollering man who had no patience, and because she was only 1.5 years old. Margaret, the store manager, appeared out of nowhere, profusely apologizing for Sarah with her large, fat mouth to the customer. The customer, still hollering, suddenly orgasmed with pleasure and a long groan and a shudder also at being so quickly placated and apologized to by someone who was of the manager race. Margaret then turned to Sarah and fired her on the spot and told her to get out of the store. Sarah, still in tears, toddled out of the store, beyond despondent in her little pink jumper, and staggered out into the hot, sweltering, angry, and hostile 4th of July midday traffic, wailing and crying so hard that she couldn't even see where she was going. And all of the cars swerving fast out of her listless way haunted her meanly because they had important white picnics to go to. The sun set roughly later on. She really should have been a better employee. At some point in my features, I really feel a prominent need to share a poem I dedicate to somebody in my family, and this one is from my father, and it's published in the Malpais Review first, and then in my book, dedicated to a memory of my father and me. This is for Dick Boucher, my dad. This is called Cutting Myself Shaving. I've only been awake for 10 minutes, and I already have a razor in my hand. The pale cadmium of the lights lit above the bathroom sink make my face flesh fearful in that tired image in the glass, as I watch myself touch the spot on my chin where I've drawn blood, as I watch the cloud cover of shaving cream turn an unnerving coral hue. It's almost 6 in the morning, and I can see my father in the mirror standing right behind me. Now I look small again, and he is showing me how to do it. How to hold the blade to my skin, showing me how to cut away what has been given leave to grow for too long. His voice is calm, as though this moment has come right when he expected it to, but I hear the lost animal of fear in his voice as well, as though he knows I'll draw blood on the first try. He is right. I nick myself on the chin, and we watch the little red raindrops spatter and ping into the palm of the white basin. We both share a nervous laugh, a moment, and then he is gone. It's 6:30, and I am right on time for almost being late to work. I let the water run cold to rinse away that drop of my blood, which is just as much my father's blood as it is my own. And so I wake myself, snap myself out of whatever this is, with that same cold water. That's for my dad. This is a cover poem because I haven't been doing enough of sharing someone else's work, that somebody that's meant a lot to me. And in honor of National Poetry Month, I'm going to read a poem. It's a short one by James Tate, who has been a fixture, a star in my own personal firmament. And this poem is by James Tate. It's called The Camel. I received the strangest thing in the mail today. It's a photograph of me riding a camel in the desert. And yet I have never ridden a camel or even been in a desert. I am wearing a jalaba and a kafia, and I'm waving a rifle. I have examined the photo with a magnifying glass, and it is definitely me. I can't stop looking at the photo. I have never even dreamed of riding a camel in the desert. The ferocity in my eyes suggests I am fighting some kind of holy war, that I have no fear of death. I must hide this photo from my wife and children. They must not know who I really am. I must not know. Okay. Now, this poem is from my book also, and this is called Something to Cry About. The house fire began to cry. She had been working hard on this home on the edge of town for what seemed like all afternoon, fully enjoying herself in her bliss, this eager, smiling blaze she was. And she was halfway through consuming this residence, and now the fire department had to show up and ruin everything, just like they always did. In a whirl of anguish and rage, the house fire ran down the stairs and met the firemen at the front door. "Why are you guys trying to put me out?" she sobbed, loud and desperate, and with a rush of red, bright air. "Just leave me alone and go away," she screamed. She wept hot water, and her tears were fast embers. She drew in a lungful of air, but then caught another scream before it could leave her throat. She knew it was useless to argue or to beg these plastic men for her life. She knew they didn't see her as worthy, didn't see her the way they obviously saw the ones just like themselves. This was all the more frustrating because the firemen were yelling, but they were yelling at each other, not at her. It was humiliating. It was almost like they couldn't hear her, no matter how loud, how bright, how hot she made herself. The end arrived with a sound like a seashore shushing you. The firemen brought more water than she was able to burn away. The firemen all swore they heard screams too, but they never found a body. Okay, just a few more poems we're going to finish up here. This is from my book. This is called Music Brings Us Together. This is from my mom, for Susan Boucher. Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 4, and suddenly the pianist stops playing. Fingers come to a halt, the notes fading quick, like some small scream in a forest cut off abruptly. His bow tie snaps. He cries out loud for his mother, yelling it really, as though his room was on fire. "Mother, please, I need you. Mother, please." And there's a rumble in the amphitheater. Dresses and tuxedos rise from velvet cushions. There's a rising hush, a rumbling muttering, and people cannot believe they paid for this. And after a full minute of his screaming, the house lights slowly come up, warming one by one. Yellow stars, taking their places for Act 1, Scene 1 of the evening sky. And I want to feel bad for him, this pianist. From all the way up here in this empty balcony, I really do. but he also happens to be my brother. And actually, I miss my mother too. Now, this one was published in the December 2022 Fiction Free Quarterly. And one of the, I don't normally enjoy, I feel like a lot of political poems can get real clumsy. Maybe that's the case with me too. I don't know. This is called Nothing Else Gets Him Off Anymore. Wayne LaPierre, the leader and CEO of the National Rifle Association, leaned back in his big black leather chair and stroked it slowly, edging himself to live coverage of the latest school shooting. Apparently, somebody at Disney World sold a 3-year-old a 6-pack of AR-15s, and the kid decimated 7 Montessori schools in a row before it was even 9 in the morning that day. By the glow of the plasma TV in his private office, Wayne, in his big black leather chair, worked his member into stunning rigidity, harder than he ever was way back when he was not quite old enough to buy his own howitzer for use on the farm. So much lube, so many boxes of Kleenex at the ready by the big black leather chair, so much American pre-cum dribbling, a burbling mayonnaise magma of lust cascading, his balls in the tight, twitching kind of glory meant to hang from the rear bumper of a large, masculine pollution machine. He closed his eyes for just a moment, imagining a sky full of chalk outlines the size of children and tastefully rendered in the primary simplicity of Fisher-Price colors. He opened his eyes again and stared at the screen, his hand almost a pasty blur now. The news anchor's voice broke as she tried to recap how many children were perished to death in the last hour. "Say it slowly," Wayne hissed. He was so goddamned close. And I'm going to close with this poem. Thank you all for listening, by the way. If I hadn't already said that enough, I'm going to close with this, which appears in the March 2024 edition of the Fiction Free Quarterly. And this poem I will dedicate to Elena Koshka, who is a delightful, limber, enthusiastic, and very, very pretty adult film model and actress. This is called "How Can I Express in Just a Few Words What Has Taken Me 5 Seconds to Understand?" I asked the adult film star if she would love me for a little while. This was at the Expo Convention Booth Arena Concourse Place, where she was signing autographs and taking pictures with all of her admirers, who admired her, much in the same way that I admired her. Upon hearing my request, she looked at me with an expression of a lovely and heartfelt shock. Her shock was beautiful and sexy, of course, because she was adult and because she was film star. She held my gaze for a few moments, and in that time I thought about my life and how weird it was that I was still alive, and how strange it was that people still sometimes loved me when I couldn't see any reason for the love. The other onlookers to this interaction had no idea what was going on, and they milled about like people who aren't me often do when a thing is happening that they don't think is happening. The adult film star's look of shock melted just then into a smile small enough to fit onto her lips, and she then informed me that I was sweet. Which was nice, but in every honesty, she wasn't telling me something I didn't already know. They only give each pilgrim, autograph, and photo seeker about a minute with the adult film star, so I was already under enough pressure as it was. Everyone had to make the most of this once-in-a-lifetime experience. The guy right before me used his chance to just touch the hem of her robe and be healed. And the adult film star healed him. Yay, Hosanna! My time was running out, and I didn't want an autograph or a Polaroid with her. I just wanted to know if this love thing was real. And if so, could I have some of her love for a while? Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you listening tonight.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, friends, unmute and show your appreciation. That was fantastic. Thank you so
Yay,
much. Give it up.
Rich.
Put your hands
That
together
was
40 more
wonderful,
times.
Rich. That was
Emoji
great.
your
Thank you,
hands,
sir.
however you'd
Thank
like.
you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all. I'm so happy to see you all here. I'm thrilled that you came. This is so good. And I've seen some of the comments here. I have to scroll way up. But thank you to everybody who's throwing in comments here. Somebody asked who's behind me. Who said
The
that?
photo, I think.
Oh, that is so that is, it's in my studio. This is where I write and compose. And that's actually a selfie that Salma Hayek took that appeared in one of the Glamour magazines. No makeup, no nothing, just she just took a shot. And it was it's very tasteful. She's just cupping her breasts, but this, the cleavage is there, and it's just a really, really pretty shot of her. And it's especially since it's just sort of candid. She's not really trying to do anything other than kind of display a little bit of vulnerability. And Salma Hayek happens to be one of the great actresses who I just adore looking at and admiring her great work, because she's just an awful lot of fun and she's brilliant. That's who that is.
All right.
Erica, thank you. And Mary Deboda, oh my God.
So good to see you. You look so,
It's so good to see you.
amazing how much you've changed.
Oh, it's so good to see your face. My heart is just filling up right now seeing your face, Mary.
So good. Oh,
Mary and I work together.
love you so much, man.
And I love you too, Mary. Oh my God. Mary and I worked together. God, 75 years ago, it feels like sometimes, at a
I think it
copy
was
shop
30.
in Delaware.
Almost 30. We were at Kinko's.
Yes. Yep. Kinko's Veterans, serving the rather particularly entitled undergrad population of the University of Delaware.
Oh,
Those days. Oh my
the
God.
beginning of life.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And Mary, by the way, is a fantastic artist. For those of you who do not know her, she does wonderful work. And I've been seeing your work, and I hope you'll post more, because I want to see more of your work.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're very welcome. Gosh, I miss you and love you. Holy
I
smokes,
miss
Mary.
you too. Oh.
So
God,
Rich, what can we expect from you in the future? Another book?
yes, I'm working on a book. Now, the poems that I read where I didn't preface with this is in this or this is in that, those are poems that will be in my second book. I've already got a title, and that's kind of about all I can say right now. Just sort of keeping mum and keeping things under wraps, but it's all in progress. Trina, thank you so much. Where are you? There you are, darling. Hi, Trina. I'm glad you came. Bill, I'll see you in the rare whiskeys aisle. Yes, sir, for sure. And you and I are gonna have to put away some Egan's vintage grain Irish whiskey some of these nights. Tipple back a couple, 2-3 glasses.
Bring devil dogs.
Bob and Sari, so good to see you both, by the way. And I love that you put on a me hat tonight, Bob. Does anyone, so this is something I've been wanting to do for since we get this feature booked. Chad, if it's okay with you. I love you too, Mary. Can anybody have a question? I forgot to carve out some time to do a Q&A, but if anyone's kind of feeling it and has a question, by all means, let me know.
Who the hell is
Sure, I got a
Marilyn
question.
Monroe?
That's a great question. I've been trying to figure that out, Bob, and people have been acting weird since I figured out that I can't figure out who she was. Bill Nevin says, where was it and why and who, when did it? Every one of those answers is me, including the where. I am also the where of that question.
So I am curious about yourself. your poems are beautiful, hauntingly beautiful, and also really disconcertingly weird. To the point where I wonder, you know, how sane are you? Are you the guy who's going to cut somebody up and serve them for dinner? I mean, that's the feeling I get. But you seem like such a nice guy for chopping people up. Are you Jeffrey Dahmer with a smile on your face?
That's Bill. Those are all great questions. And I will say, well, you know, I kind of better be cautious about how I answer that question because I don't have my lawyer present, and so probably a good idea just to say I had an awful lot of spam and Kool-Aid in the 1970s, and you're seeing the net result of that. 'Cause I am a full-on Gen Xer. Erica says it's always the nice guys. That's right, Erica. That's exactly right. Erica, I got to hear you tonight. It was so good. You were great. Where she is. There she is. I see you. Wow. Okay. Bill says, no. Rich is concertingly weird. I love that. Yes. Spam and Kool-Aid. That's definitely the name of a book, I think, for sure. Anybody else? I'm kind of gung-ho to entertain a question. And the serious answer, Bill, to your question is, I'm just a guy. I work retail. I deal with the public 40 hours a week, and they are emphatically not awesome. And that's a big part of what fuels my hate, maybe is a good word for it.
Is more of that going into your next book?
Oh, a lot. The book that, in fact, the two poems that had to do with sort of the sweet and lovely retail world experience are gonna be in that book. I'm definitely putting there. Erica says, yeah, you were a receptionist. Absolutely. You know it. You know it, Erica. Absolutely. And thank you, Bill. Bill said, honestly, your employer is damned for. That's how I feel about it. They're freaking lucky to have me. And every time I don't immediately walk out when a customer decides to put their hands on me, every time that happens and I choose to just stay working instead of just walking right out, I honestly think that the people that run the company should just get over to me and I'll pull down my pants and they can just get on their knees behind me and just take turns peppering my beautiful ass cheeks with kisses. That's what I think that they should be doing.
I appreciate how you almost ended that, how you kind of ended that almost PG. Yeah, thank you.
I was, it takes a lot of work, Chad, for me to. I have to work so hard, Chad, to remember that this gets out, and I have a really foul mouth. This is me really edited, so.
And I have to ask, as someone who has a whole entire series of poems secretive that I haven't released to anybody or even read to anybody, like how well do your employers know this poetic side of you?
That's I love that question. So there's one or two people I work with who are really decent folks, real nice. I mean, the staff is good. It's not, when I bitch about work, it's mainly because the customers are rotten people who aren't worth the skin that's covering their skin and their bones and blood. But the people I work with are a different matter. And for the most part, they're great. And I can tell who in the batch of people I work with, it is safe, so to speak, to say, hey, this is me outside of here. This is who I am. What you hear me doing is trying to figure out how to respond to a customer who somehow is only able to manage one word and think that that's a question. But there's a whole other kind of me, you know. So I'd say one or two people that are knowledgeable about it and that I've kind of shared, you know, I trickle it in a little bit here and there if I can sense that they're not going to go run tell the heads of state of my company, hey, you got this guy here who writes poems that are revenge fantasies, and but you know,
Well, to be
if
fair,
it ever happened, and
I don't even know where you work. So you could get away with these. I mean, these are one of the things that's kind of amazing about these is that they're, I don't want to say generic, but they're almost like everyman in terms of like their employee, the type of employee.
Well, Mary will tell you, because Mary and I share a long history. Mary, you still here? You gone? Okay.
I think she left.
So we both worked for the public for a very, very, very long time. And it's really an amalgamation of, I mean, when I get to the point where I write something like the poem where I've strapped the Willigan to the table in the basement, that is an accrual of decades of the consumption of the customer's shit so that I can get my paycheck. Whereas for me, I would just love to force the customer to get on their knees in front of me and make them submit to me for talking to me in a rude way. That's kind of where my head is at. So I'm not, some of my impulses aren't what you'd call progressive.
But neither are the customers.
No, they're not. You know, I had one lady, actually I got complained about because I told the customer to keep his hands off me, and I wasn't like yelling at him. I just said, if you want me to continue helping you, I'm happy to do that. But from here on out, understand that you're meant to keep your hand to yourself, and we'll do just fine. And saying it like that was apparently getting frisky when the customer reported my action to my manager because they were upset at being told to not touch a human being. This is a grown man, by the way. This is a man who is not a child anymore. Like I don't go to some other store and just reach over and touch an employee. Just because Bill's, would you say, Bill? I would never, that's a great question. Would I consider becoming a manager? No, I wouldn't do it. I would not do it because unless there's a revolution, which I hope to have happen by February of 2025, a retail revolution, unless that happens, being a manager means that I have to act like a corporate person and I'll have to do dirty work, like firing someone because a customer was upset that an employee spoke up for themselves. And to me, that is so unfuckably gross that I can't fathom it. It's just I could never do that. I hope that makes sense. I could not do that. You know. So I have a question for the audience. Sari. I didn't get to hear you, and I want to get to hear you again. Are you still doing the weekly poems out in the woods?
No, that was just a short-term thing.
Oh, I was just getting started.
They're still there.
That sounds
okay.
fun.
Well, I have to go back and go through them, but I hope you resume because it was great. It was great to hear you too, by the way. So let's see. I don't know. I think, we covered everything. We covered Salma Hayek. We covered the retail revolution. We covered burgers. I think Bill mentioned flipping burgers or cooking burgers. I like the smell of burgers, if that helps. Oh, so this is really funny. My stopwatch is still going on. I had a stopwatch going to make sure I was still on time, Chad. I was terrified of doing that thing that some people do where they'll be like, do I have time for 9 more poems? I promise they're short. They're only 4 pages apiece.
Rich, so did you go to the Oakland National Poetry Slam in 2014?
I did. In 2014, I was on the member of the Albuquerque Poetry Slam team that year, as a matter of fact. We made it to the semis that year.
I was on the Rhythmic Cipher Portland, Maine Poetry Slam team that year.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a
small world.
A really fun thing. And I even worked at a Kinko's in New York City.
Small world. That was a great nationals at Portland. Bram, thank you, sir, very much. And I'll talk to you soonest as well, fella. It's great to see your face here tonight. Richard Vargas, by the way, who is another inspiration on me. Richard Vargas says, Godzilla says hi. And I am in the vernacular of the young people. That comment is fire. And I am with that because I'm dying to see. I've already seen Godzilla -1, which won an Oscar. Holy Christ, shit in a chicken basket. It won an Oscar. And I am looking forward to seeing the one where he teams up with King Kong. Yeah. 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 Anyone to see those? Anyone happen to see either of those movies? -1 or the new one?
I only saw the Godzilla versus Kong, where I'm like, oh, yes, because it always seemed like Kong was grossly outmatched, and anytime he won, it would look like he was cheating. But then I'm like, ooh, Ape learns how to use tools and has a badass weapon. Yes, I can get behind this.
Yeah,
This would be
the recent
amazing.
in the last decade upgrade to King Kong, I'm very in favor of. Bill, have a great night. Mr. Bill Nevins, thank you so much for being here. You have a great night. Give a hug to Jeannie for me. Yeah, the -1 was, if you haven't seen it, it really is a quantum step up in every respect. Richard Vargas says they put steroids in his bananas. Yes, that's correct. That's what King Kong was given, some steroids for sure. The visual impact of what happens in Godzilla -1 will just leave you slack in your chair for how well they executed. Because I told my sister, I had a conversation with my sister about it. She wanted to go see it. I talked to Tammy. My middle sister's name is Tammy. And I said, hey, did you and your guy go see -1 like I told you to in the theater? It's a great movie that is about post-traumatic stress syndrome, or PTSD. And she said, what? That's really what the movie is about. If you watch the movie and the man who is a survivor, and what actually happens. It's the whole reason they call the movie -1. And it's just a great film. I know Richard Vargas agrees with that sentiment about the flick for sure. Chad Parento, sir, thank you for this so much.
Thank you for doing this, and just want to do the obligatory wave before we go tonight, as we are nearing the end of our time. And thanks to everyone who came. And I sent the link to the book. Hopefully you can save the chat and purchase Mr. Boucher's. Sorry for the mispronunciation earlier.
It's all right. It's all right.
I have been corrected and disciplined, but I'll be grabbing your book later on. I'll be purchasing your book later on tomorrow, and trying to get all the books for the features for National Poetry Month. Keep it in the spirit. Hope you guys keep on coming back. If it could be like this every week, all we need is you guys. It's been an amazing night. I think it's going to be an amazing month of poetry, and I'm looking more and more forward if we can keep this momentum going to the 53rd anniversary.
Yes,
and what
indeed.
we'll have in store there. So thank you all very much, and have yourselves an excellent evening. I hope to see all of you again very soon. Hopefully my new Mexes are in the house next week, and we'll see you soon, and have yourselves a great night.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Show's over. See you next time.